Hello, I'm Walter Mondale. I'd like to talk with you for just a moment about the proposed deep cuts in state support of our crucial court system. These cuts threaten our judicial system upon which we are all so dependent. We all have a right to be proud of Minnesota's exemplary court system and of the superb personnel and judges who have made it so. Of course, we all know about the current economic crisis. All of us are touched with it in one way or another. But even in these challenging times, in fact, most particularly in these times, we need to pull together to preserve our court system upon which the very stability and viability of our communities and our state depend. Our judicial system is always crucial. But in a true sense, the court's role is even more essential in these difficult and stressful times. Hard times produce more cases, more disputes, and even a greater urgency to justly resolve differences. In a real sense, as has been said, our courts are society's emergency room. As you may know, the governor has proposed a dramatic cut in funding for our court system. But the bottom line is that we have too much at stake to risk skimping on the funding of our courts. Please urge your state legislators to support essential funding for the courts to sustain the remarkable Minnesota tradition of justice and decency for which our state is so admired.
Hello, I'm Eric Magnuson, Chief Justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court. These are unprecedented times. Our state faces a major economic downturn at a time when the demands for public services are growing. Our legislators and the governor are charged with the task of deciding where the state should concentrate its limited resources in these difficult times. The first sentence of the Minnesota Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, says that the object of government is to ensure the security, benefit, and protection of the people. We do that through passing laws and then enforcing those laws. And a justice system that has inadequate funding cannot fulfill that basic government obligation. Imagine that on July 1 of this year, the courts stop handling cases involving shoplifting, trespass, worthless checks, traffic and ordinance violations, juvenile truancy, runaways and underage drinking, consumer credit disputes, property-related, and small civil claims. That is exactly what will happen if a suggested 10% cut to the justice system budget is imposed. Civil and criminal consequences for a wide range of behavior will simply not be imposed. It's no exaggeration to say that the rule of law, as we know it, is at stake. The courts will have to stop processing 21 of the 51 case types that we currently handle. Because our first obligation must be protecting public safety, conciliation courts will close, leaving no meaningful access to the courts for unrepresented litigants with small but valid claims. Businesses seeking resolution of consumer credit matters will get no relief. And there will be longer waits for divorcing couples to clarify their financial obligations and child custody arrangements, and longer times to probate wills. Many other types of cases will simply go unaddressed or be further delayed until the budget crisis is over. Cuts to public defense mean that out-of-custody defendants and property-related claims won't be processed. Delays in criminal and juvenile case processing will impact other public institutions as well as the public at large. Defendants who are considered innocent until proven guilty will be incarcerated longer while waiting trial, increasing costs for the jails, for the counties, for other units of government. And others accused of crimes but still out of custody will remain free longer because the courts can't get to their cases. We're likely to be forced to close or significantly reduce operations in low-volume rural courts, and several of our high-volume suburban courts may have to close as well. Many of our drug courts, which save taxpayers money and save lives, will have to be shut down. It is completely appropriate to ask whether the justice system is doing all it can to be efficient and to reform its operations. While there's always more to be done, transformational work is already underway, especially with respect to technology, using it to drive down our court costs. Information on many of these initiatives has been provided to the governor and to the legislature, but these changes can't happen overnight, and they don't resolve the budget crisis immediately. While the cost of the judicial system is small, about 2% of the total state budget, the consequences of underfunding the justice system are huge. They reach out and touch every single one of us. If you haven't been to court, you know someone who has. If you haven't been divorced, you know somebody who has. If you haven't had a kid in trouble, you know somebody who has. All of those people, your neighbors, your friends, your relatives, will be impacted by underfunding the courts. Our proposed case processing priorities will undoubtedly generate a vigorous public debate, and we invite that. The stark implications associated with the potential budget reductions are worthy of discussion. The basic object of government is to provide for public safety and ensure the rule of law. Our citizens have a right to demand that. Adequately funding the justice system isn't an option, it's an obligation. Thank you.